Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Good to see so many people here. My name's Dave. This is my colleague, Jamil. We're engineers at Tally. We're the DAO dashboard and management team. And we're really excited to be here to tell you about a little something that we've been working on. It's a no-code DAO proposal tool. And it's purpose-built to just kind of simplify the proposal creation process, which notoriously has been kind of burdensome. And I think it's been keeping people from creating proposals as much as we like to see them create proposals. So we think tools like this are going to be pretty essential in facilitating DAO activity and decentralization in the future, which create healthy, safe DAOs that can actually be effective. But first, I'm actually curious, how many of you guys here are involved in a DAO? All right, right on. How many of you guys have actually made an on-chain proposal or an on-chain vote on a DAO? All right. Actually pretty impressive, but fewer of you, it looks like. So we're hoping to increase that ratio with tools like these. Cool. So most of you probably know what a DAO is, but so I'll keep this pretty brief. A DAO is a decentralized entity. No central party controls the organization, and operations are transparent to all stakeholders, or they should be. They're autonomous, meaning that management is done purely algorithmically, and smart contracts are king. They enforce those rules. Finally, at the base level, an organization is just a group of people working towards a common goal, and we like to help them achieve that. So Tally focuses on on-chain voting first. There's a key difference there is that on off-chain voting, there is like a moment of centralization where votes need to be tabulated and submitted to the blockchain at a certain point, which does leave some room for vulnerabilities. And so we think that while a DAO can be a lot of things, a DAO can really just be a bunch of friends with a multi-sig wallet. We believe that a DAO should ideally have some governance contract, and we personally, at the moment, are focusing on-chain voting and proposals. So who are we? What is Tally? Our goal is to kind of enable DAOs to achieve their goals and be as decentralized and autonomous as possible, meaning we would love to see participants in DAOs actually creating proposals rather than just kind of booting their ideas to one person on the team that knows how to use the command line interface the best. We're a team of engineers, designers, and thinkers who really believe that a good UI is one of the biggest steps towards an effective DAO management system. And what are we building? So we're building kind of a suite of apps and technologies that are relatively end-to-end in the DAO process. We have a tool that allows you to create a DAO with a simple form in like 15 minutes or less, basically. Our main focus is on DAO management, which the three pillars of that are, like I said, proposal creation, voting, and delegating votes. Kind of secondarily, we add like a data visualization component so you can see there's transparency on who's getting involved in the DAO, how much traffic there is, and what's being accomplished. We're also experimenting with some interesting tools like drafts, for example, which is effectively a forum for gauging interest in proposals and kind of doing some off-chain feeling out the community to see if the proposal is really worth the time and trouble and the gas to put on-chain. In addition, we have a couple really interesting projects like Koken, where we reward participants in DAOs in NFTs in like a fun, visible way that users seem to be really excited about. And we also have some experimental layer 2 technologies that like basically enable safe voting on a layer 2 to distribute funds from a treasury that's on a layer 1. This is actually a screenshot I took last night of our current homepage. This is just like the most recent active DAOs on our page. I think we have about 33 mainnet DAOs right now on Tally and counting. And as you can see, like just last night, we had about 6 active proposals, and they're pretty diverse in what they accomplished and the types of DAOs that they were a part of. We have a number of decentralized finance DAOs, of course, several NFT DAOs, which are growing for sure. And I think in the example of Dope Wars, for example, which is one of our favorite NFT projects, they were actually voting on a proposal to start a podcast where they told their NFT origin story and interviewed contributors, which is very neat. Whereas a decentralized finance protocol like Pool Together was basically voting on setting up a foundation offshore and hiring an accountant, lawyers, etc. So pretty good diversity of actions happening on the DAOs on Tally right now. The first two tools we focused on enhancing the UI for were voting and delegating. Again, it's very essential that as many members of your DAO are voting and delegating. So we tried to really make it resemble just a well-designed Web 2 app when you delegate your votes to someone you trust in the DAO, or whether you vote yourself. We tried to abstract away some of the annoying and frustrating nuances in Web 3, like the fact that you could have a boatload of native tokens, but if you forgot that you haven't delegated to yourself by default, effectively you won't be able to vote on the proposal, and a lot of users have been frustrated with that until we added a decent UI that warns you when you haven't delegated, or if you have delegated to someone and you just forgot. So now the main DAO action that we want to focus on, of course, is creating proposals. And I think before Tally and for the longest time, proposals seemed to be created on the command line interface, and it was a pretty technical ordeal. You definitely needed to know your way around a computer. These are mostly developers who were creating these, which is not everyone in a DAO, of course. And basic Solidity knowledge was also required, because you had to interface with these contracts that are pretty fickle and particular about how you interface with them. So a mistake in just the type of an argument that you're providing, an ABI method, for example, could render your proposal useless, or it could, worse, execute an unintended action that could harm your community. And frankly, it was an extremely centralized process we noticed in a lot of DAOs. We talked to some pretty popular DAOs who basically told us that there was one person in their community that was responsible for launching all the proposals. People would just kind of talk to him on Discord, and they would use the command line interface to launch proposals, and that was the main guy. We'd love to see proposals coming from all over the place. I think that's much more in line with the ethos of DAOs. So it was a frustrating experience, to say the least. Here's a glimpse of what it's like to use the command line interface to create a proposal. It's not very transparent or clear, unless you're a developer, in which case you still pretty much need to know what you're doing. And you could still make mistakes, which it got really frustrating. Tools like Etherscan make it a little bit easier, but you're still usually, if you're dealing with an unverified contract, dealing with bytecode, just not a pleasant UI experience, and something we thought we could definitely improve. So that's where Tally comes in. We can now kind of give you a small demo of our Create Proposal flow. I think the key features that we focused on were like a custom advanced mode where you can upload an ABI method or use a verified contract from Etherscan to use any type of method that you want and really get a custom proposal going. Or you could use one of our kind of preset recipes for really common actions like sending money. Paying contractors is pretty much one of the most common actions we see on proposals on the DAOs that we work with. And there just doesn't really need to be any reason, I think, to fill out a complicated form when we can abstract away as much detail and make it like just a couple button presses. And people seem to be responding to that. So I think, yeah, without further ado, here's Jamil, and he's going to give a little demo of the interface. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Dave. That was great. So I'm going to go over a few flows. Actually, start with a staging proposal. We have a few, this is a testing DAO that we created, so that's why it's on staging. Looks like I'm having slow internet issues, but please bear with me. So this is a tutorial of the flow. We're trying to make it as easy as possible. So a nice little kind of walkthrough of the different steps. So you start by connecting your wallet, making sure it's on the right chain, that you have enough voting power. Naming your proposals, providing a description so that once it's on chain, people know what the proposal is for. Then adding actions for your proposals, and then a summary phase where you can review before you actually submit it on chain. So this is Dave DAO, a DAO created by Dave, and he kindly supplied me with enough voting power. So I'm going to give my proposal a title. So we're going to pay me, plus we're also going to pay our colleague Emmy over here for some work that she did for Dave DAO. Here you can add your description with full markdown styling, which is super useful for adding things like bulleted lists, code blocks, etc. So that's really nice. And we're really in the market for uni, so that's what we're going to be transferring. Cool. So now on to the next phase, the really exciting part, where you're adding actions to your proposals. And you have basically two options. One is a transfer tokens recipe, which abstracts away a lot of the complex parts of creating the action, which I'll go over later. But first, we'll start with the custom action. So first, I'm going to add the contract address that I'd like to interact with. So I'm going to get the uni contract ERC20 token address and enter the address. And we basically load the ABI from Etherscan and can choose the contract method that we'd like to call. So I'm going to call transfer to pay myself. So I'm going to copy my wallet address. And let's go with 100. Then you can add actions so that you can bundle multiple actions within a single proposal, which is what I'm going to do to pay Emmy. And this time I'm actually going to call a different contract because I'd like to send the money from the treasury using calling basically the treasury contract. So going to add another custom action. This is the treasury contract address. The treasury contract is actually not verified on Etherscan, so here you have the opportunity to upload your own ABI, knowing you have to obviously know the implementation of the ABI, which I do in this case. So I'm going to upload this ABI in JSON format, and then our contract methods show up, and I'm going to call send treasury funds. And the contract address will be the same uni contract with an amount, and then Emmy's address, which I'm gonna go with. Let's pretend that my address is her address. Something that's really nice with our UI is that we do type safety. So you'll notice that if I were to remove the last character of the address, it's going to let me know. Same with every other type, including tuples, nested tuples, etc. So if I were to add an A here, it would also tell me something's wrong, which I think gives a lot of confidence to our users. So this proposal looks pretty good right now. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. And now we have ignore these little errors. Then we have a summary of what this proposal will do. So our description, our title, the proposer, who is myself, our first action, which is a transfer action with the specific call data, the targets, and the values. So, there's still this isn't very readable for non-technical users or people we want to onboard onto the product and into the space. But it still gives me like a little bit of confidence as to what's happening. So I'm going to go ahead and submit. My MetaMask is showing up. This is on Rinkeby. So I'm going to go ahead and confirm it. And now our proposal is going into the mining process. So a little bit of time will elapse, and then it will have successfully created. So in the interest of time, I created a proposal a few minutes ago that actually got defeated because no one voted on it in the voting period. But this is in the proposal detail page. This was an on-chain proposal that was created, and here we parse the data as well, so that users who look at proposals once they've been created can also verify what's happening in the proposal before it gets voted on and before it gets queued and executed. And here you have, the voting has ended here. We don't have any voting data because no one voted. But this is where you would interact with that proposal. Now I'm going to show you, so this one has successfully been created, which is great. Now I'm going to show you the latest and greatest tally create proposal. I'm showing you what's on my localhost, but these changes are landing very soon, and we're really excited about these. Actually, you can see right now that so I'd like to create a proposal on the Dope Wars DAO to send Paper their native token. So I'm going to quickly change. And we can see that I don't have the voting power required to create a proposal, but it's not necessarily a blocking step. We think that's important to be able to play around with the tool, and also depending on how governances are set up, we might not necessarily know that this is gating. So in the interest of time, quick, simple description and title. And then here we have our first recipe, which is a transfer token recipe, which allows us to easily pay people. We want it to be as easy as like a Venmo payment for anyone to use. So here we are going to select who we want to pay. We're going to pay me again. And here you can see you have a nice UI that tells you where the money's coming from, which is the treasury address, to me. I have a tally profile, so this shows up. And then here, I basically have options as to what exists in the treasury. So I can see that there's 158 ETH in the treasury if I want to send ETH. And there's also 18 million paper in the treasury. And we also see the price of those tokens. When I add some values, we can see exactly what's happening in this little preview, which is nice, gives us confidence. And then again, in our summary, we get that preview again, just to make these simple actions abstracted and easy for any user to do. So we want to keep adding new proposals so that there's more DAO engagement. And we're really excited about all the different options of recipes. And if anyone has a great idea for any common DAO actions that they'd like to see in a recipe, please let us know. Yeah, we hope this is the future of creating proposals for DAOs. That's it for us. Thank you. Any questions?